Welcome back everybody to Ottawa Valley Vintage Motorcycles. My name's Todd and today we're working on this 2011 ZX6R Ninja. So we don't always work on old vintage bikes, we sometimes work on newer bikes here as well. So this one here, you may recall in the episode 1, we started to install this rapid bike racing system by we had to take the exhaust off and modify the exhaust with an O2 sensor so that we're going to be able to actually sniff the exhaust emissions, and so we'll be able to tell what the air fuel ratios are. So typically when you put on a racing system, exhaust and filter, it tends to lean out the mixture. What we're planning on doing is we're going to put this system in where we can actually adjust the air fuel ratio, so we can start adding more fuel now to richen up that mixture a little bit, so we'll get the best benefits out of that exhaust system and air filter. We haven't put the air filter on yet, but we have a new K&N higher flow filter that we're going to be putting in. So we're going to be doing that today, and we're going to be installing this. It's the racing one. There's another version. It's more of a street version, but this one here is the full race kit. So we're going to put that on. We're going to install a speed shifter here. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be focusing on basically taking off the tank and diving right into the electrical and taking the air box off so we can get in there, because there's one sensor that's in the front that we're going to have to get in. It's underneath the air box, so it might be just easier for us to just remove it completely. So yeah, so we're going to be working on that. And so stay tuned, and hope you enjoy this episode. Okay, so we're going to start by taking off this fuel tank and the seat so we can get in there. So we got to take this panel off. There's an Allen key bolt here, and this is it's just Velcroed on. I'm going to actually lower this bike a little bit. See how it just flaps out like that, and you can get at the seat bolt here. But I'm actually taking the whole tank off, so I'm going to remove this panel by taking that off. But there's a bolt here and on the other side to take off the seat. So that's one bolt for the seat. There's your side panel. We'll just do the same for the other side, and then we can take that seat off. The seat just comes off like that. And we can access this. The tank, we'll have to take the steering damper off, and then the tank usually just pivots up like that. But because we're removing the tank, we're actually going to take these bolts out, disconnected underneath. There's the fuel line, obviously, and then the electrical as well, and then we can take the tank right off. Okay, so we got the seat off, and I lowered the bike down a little bit so I can work in here a little easier. You're going to take this back section off. Put the key in there like that. Pull that off. Now I can start taking off the steering damper. Steering damper is not too hard to take off. Don't actually have to take it off all the way. I just take off these two bolts here, and then I can swing it up out of the way, and then I can lift the tank up, get these bolts off here, and lift the tank out. Now this should just lift up out of the way. There we go. We'll get this bolt off here. Okay, so the tank, like I said earlier, will pivot on this kind of a hinge here, so you can lift that up here like this. And then I usually just prop it up with something so that I can take the fuel line off. Now I can access the fuel line down here. You see the fuel line right here? It's like a quick release. So we'll get that off. And then there's this line here will have to be just pulled up. It's routed down through here. That'll come off. And then this one here, same thing. So when I go to lift the tank off, those should come free. And there should be an electrical one on the other side. So that's my one vent. And my other vent's over there. Now the electrical is this one here. It just goes back and ties in right there. So you can just pull this back out of the way a little bit. And if you can see, like a little tab right there. So you gently push that in there like that. And then you should be able to pull the wire out. Now I'm going to put this camera back up on the tripod, but just you won't be able to see it as well. But you'll see me do it. Okay, so you just take your screwdriver, gently put it in there, put up in a little pressure. And pull it apart. So now that's got to be fed back down through so we can lift the tank out. So there's our line there. It goes back to here, which goes up to the fuel tank. So just feed that down through here. Like that. So when I go to lift it off, it should come free. Now the only thing left to do is disconnect this, and then that tank should be able to come off once we take that bolt out. Okay, so here's the fuel line that we're trying to get off. Spread those apart like that and push down. You don't want to break these. So there's the clip. And then the line should just pop out like that. Now I just have to undo that bolt that I told you about over here, and the tank should lift off. You don't want to lose this. Okay, 10mm bolt right there coming up. Support the tank a little bit in case she wants to drop. It shouldn't. I don't feel a lot of pressure on this bolt. But better be safe than sorry. There's your bolt. Move that out of the way. Tank should just lift off. Okay, so we got the fuel tank off, the seat off. So now, here's your fuel line here that we just disconnected. So now we need to access these fuel injectors. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to be plugging in there. There's going to be another sensor up in here, and a few others that will. Oh, leaking a little fuel there. A few others that we'll get to on the way. Just gonna dab that up a little bit. There we go. All right. So I think what I'm going to do before I get started, I'm going to I have a new air filter for this. I'm going to oil it so that way it has time to get a little tacky before I install it. And then we'll dive into the wiring harness. Okay, so here's the K&N air filter kit I have. So there's the air filter and here's the recharge kit. So I'm just going to pop this baby open and put some oil on it and let it tack up a bit before I put it in the bike. Okay, so here's the new filter here. I don't need to clean it because it's brand new, but I am going to charge it with this oil. It makes it a little bit tacky so it stops any contaminants from going through it. Okay, so there's the filter. Give this a little shake and then we'll just put it on both sides and let it dry. Okay, so I just took a little small plastic bag and wrapped it around there and just zip tied it on. So just to make sure that won't leak any fuel that could be still in the system. It also helps keep the smell down in here while I'm working. So yeah, so it won't be smelling fuel. And I removed the tank from this shop and I put it into my other shop. So there won't be any fuel around. So I'm going to start by removing this one. Little vent and dropping that down because I'm going to have to access that fuel injector line, and then I'm going to undo that and drop that down just to clean it up a little bit so it'll be easier for me to work on. So I'm going to plug in these four, then I'm going to plug in these four, then I'm actually going to slip the top of the air box off. Alright, so if you don't have a pair of these pliers, I highly recommend them. These are my go-to pliers. I absolutely love these long needle nose pliers. I can get right in to any little nook and cranny and just see how simple that was, and then boom, so easy. I mean, it just doesn't get any easier than that. Nice little pliers. Had them for a while. Really handy. Okay, so let's lay out this wiring harness from this rapidbike racing system and get a closer look at it. So this is the piggyback system for the ECU. So this is going to interrupt the signal for the fuel injector. So basically right now the bike has a certain map in it, comes from the factory. It sets the air-fuel ratio up. So now we've done some changes to the bike, so we want to richen up the mixture like I said before. So now this system here is going to interrupt the system between the ECU, and it's going to send a signal to the, basically going to store the fuel map in here. It's already been programmed, and I can have a laptop with the program on there, so I'll be able to go in and monitor it while it's running. But basically we're going to hook this up, and it's going to send a new it's storing a new fuel map in it, so it's going to send the fuel injection system basically a more fuel in the air-fuel ratio. So let's open this baby up. We did an unboxing in the first video, but we're actually going to lay out this this wiring harness here now. Take a closer look at it. Obviously that's going to go in here, but we'll put that in after in case we have to feed the wires through. So we're going to want this system going this way. That's going to go to ground. Battery. Now now we need to find homes for all this stuff. There we go. So like I said earlier, that's going to go to the negative. That's going to go to the rapidbike system. Now we're going to start with the lower fuel injectors. So this is fuel injector 1. You see how nicely this is labeled out? This should be number 2. And then as it feeds down, number 3. And then number 4. So we'll start with that. Those would be the lower ones. And then these should be my upper ones here. Let's see. So we need number 5. So there's 5. And then following up, that should be 6. And 7. And then 8. That'll take care of half of our system. So we'll just do process of elimination. We've got our O2 sensor here. Supply. So it's very nicely labeled. So I'm not anticipating too many problems. So I'm just going to take the wiring harness and we're going to try to figure out a good way to route this. Okay. Start by just laying it down here and see where all this stuff goes. So I'm thinking we're going to need to go underneath here and up and around, but we'll see as we go. I'm going to start hooking these things up, and then if I have to remove the battery to bring the unit up, and we'll see where a good place to mount the actual unit is, because this is quite a long piece here. So I can actually put it right at the back of the bike, or I'm going to go through the directions and see where it recommends to put it, because some bikes it says to put it up here and others say on the side. So I'll go through to see where the recommendation is for this particular bike. But I'm going to start by plugging in those fuel injectors here first. So O2, that's going to go down over here. So I'll just hold that up out of the way. And the gear sensor, I'll put that off to one side for now. So what I want to find is the lower fuel injector lines. There's my crank sensor, the 12-volt supply. Get that out of my way. That's your top injectors, and these should be my lower injectors. So I'm just going to work with those first. I'm going to start with number 1, which is here. We'll plug those in and work our way across. All right, so you may recall me looking at these tires earlier. I measured them, and they're about 40% left. Little flat spot here. These were some Michelin tires. So look what just arrived. These brand new Pirellis Diablo Super Corsas, and they're the SPV4s. Look at those bad boys. That is going to be one sick looking tire. Dual compound tires, so it's a little bit harder in the center, it's softer on the sides. This is going to be really nice. The latest and greatest. Also got the balance beads to go inside, so there won't be any wheel weights on this bike. So if you listen carefully, you'll hear wheel weights inside. Hear them? So we'll be putting these wheel weights, these wheel balancing beads inside. Okay, so we got these hoses undone. So now we should be able to start unplugging these fuel injector lines. So these fuel injector lines, we're going to have to be very careful taking these off, these little connectors. So there's a little squeeze tab right there. So I'm going to very carefully, you don't want to squeeze too hard, get in there and give it a squeeze, and then get on it with my fingers and just pull it out very carefully, like that. There we have it. That's number one. So now we got to find injector number one, which is this guy here. Injector number one. Okay, so you take the new wiring harness from Rapidbike, and you take the black one, marked 1, like I showed you, and you need to pop this into place. There's a little bit of a tip there that's got to snap, and there's a tab there, so you can't put it in backwards. And you want to hear an audible click like that. Then we take that one with the tab down, and we plug that back into the bike. Another click, ready? There. That's in. And now we'll do the next one. So same thing, I'm going to take my pliers again. I'm going to give that tab a little squeeze, like so, and then pull like that. So that's out. Now I look for injector number 2, right here, injector number 2. Plug that in there, like so. And then that one there with the tab down, like so. Now number 3. Number 3 might be a little harder because I got that fuel rail there, but we'll see if I can get it out. There we go. That's number 3. Now we need to look for injector number 3. It's number 4. Should be 3 here. Number 3. Number 3 plugged in there. Tab down. That's number 3. We're moving right along. Now we got to get number 4 out. I don't know if you'll be able to see number 4 on camera, but it's over here. If you don't have a pair of these long needle nose pliers, I think it's a must-have. Number 4. Now we'll look for injector number 4. Injector number 4. Can't really see in there. I'm gonna get my little flashlight. Get some light down in there. There we go. Okay. Tab down. You see it there now. Click. And number 4 clicks into here. So there we go. We got to remember we got to hook that up after. So we'll put that up here off to one side. Now we'll work at number 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we got the bottom 4 injectors hooked up. So now we're going to work on these top ones. All right, so this is number 5. So once again, grab that tab, give it a squeeze, and up she comes. Then look for number 5. Should be this one here. Number 5. Oops. Snap that down there. And then this one in here. And work our way along. Squeeze. Number 6. Number 7. Number 7. Nice audible snaps. And number 8. Make sure that's number 8. Number 8 injector. Snap. And snap. There, all the fuel injectors are all hooked up. Okay, I just hooked up the gear sensor, and now I'm just going to so I unplugged the gear sensor here. These two are together, and then the rapid bike one goes in here, and then that one goes in there. Okay, we got the brake light and stop switch here, so now we're going to wire in the rapid bike one like so. Okay, here I got the crank position sensor. So I'm about to hook those up. This is the stock one, and that's the rapid bike one there. Okay, there's the crank position sensor. As you can see there, that's installed. And we got the gear position sensor installed. So now we're going to hook up the negative terminal to the battery and continue on. Okay, I got the negative line hooked up. So it's looking like I'm going to be able to put the module back here. So that's where it's going to hook into. It's going to go back there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to temporarily just plug it in and make sure everything's working, and then I'll wire this through after. The only thing that's left to do is the O2 sensor, number 1, and throttle position sensor. I'm going to have to tap that in over here, so I might have to take this air box off. Alright, so I'm going to remove this air box. Just going to take the top of the air box off and flip it over to one side. and I'll be able to access the bottom. Little filter, which we're replacing with a K&N. Now we'll pull off these side little caps to access the screws for the bottom of the airbox. Doesn't look too bad. I just cleaned this not too long ago. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. Just gonna get underneath here, pop this off. And grab an Allen key. Not sure which one it's gonna be. Smaller than that one. Loosen that off. We'll do the same for the other side. Then there's a bolt up here. We should be able to lift that bottom of the airbox off. I'll just go around and do the other side there now. Okay, I got the other side off. And just a little 10mm here. Now this airbox should lift off. Hose under here. There we go. There she is. Okay, so this is my throttle position sensor. I'm going to have to connect this green wire to that little yellow and white one down there. So I'm going to pull off this sensor so I can get at it a little easier and then clip that in. Okay, we've got this U-tune calibration device, so we're going to put that on board too. So I'm going to, while I got the tank off, I'm going to wire that underneath. So it's going to have to go up here somewhere. Not sure exactly where we're going to put it yet. But what I'm going to do is wire it in and get it working, and then we'll figure out exactly how we're going to route it. So we're going to connect these to the unit. Okay, so I got that connected in there, and this one's going to go to the speed shifter. So she's a bit of a mess right now, but she's coming along. This is full open heart surgery. Okay, so I got to tap into the throttle position sensor, which is this one down here. So I'm going to pull that out so I can get a little more room. And then I'm going to use this posi tap, and I'm going to connect it to the yellow wire down there. So the way these posi taps work You insert one wire in here, like so, and you thread it in. It's down there nice and tight. Then you take this side, take that off, and then you lay your wire in, and then that little sharp nose centers and goes down and pierces into that wire. So you're basically connecting everything together. So that's what we're going to do next, into the throttle position sensor. Okay, so first things first, we got to get that sensor out. There it is. And there's the yellow wire we got to tap into right there. I got a bit of a helper here today. Hey, buddy. Rex. You're going to help with the bike? You're going to help with the bike, yeah? Okay, so I'm going to start by stripping a little wire back. Make sure I do it away from the car or the fuel injector bodies. Just like that. These things are very handy to have. Okay, so now this is where it gets tricky. So take this end off, like so. Slip that down over there like that. Put that in here, like so. You'll feel that tighten up. Now this should not come out. Now what I'm going to do, just because I'm a little bit anal, I'm going to put some tape on there to make sure that it stays in place. Alright, so just strip off a little tape. I like to roll the tape with the way that it's threading on to keep it tight. Start with around the base and then bring it down to the actual wire. Keeping it nice and tight. Go. Like so. Then I can unscrew this side, keep it away from the throttle bodies. Now we got to find that yellow wire right there. Take that, slip it in there, like so. I like to pull it back a little bit from the actual connector in case I do have a problem and I need to strip wire. And you can see how I'm twisting this up. I can unravel it because it's not connected at the other end. So it won't be like that. There we go. Now we're in. It's tight. I'm going to put a little tape on that as well just to keep it all together. So just give you a closer look at that. So I got all the twists out. Just goes down, connects in there like that. So now I'm going to put a little more tape on there just to make sure that that doesn't come loose. And snap that back down into there. Okay, I have that all secured there now. And now I'm just going to snap that back in. Listen for the click. There she is. Put that down low like that so it's not pinching on anything. Good. All right. So now I'm going to put this air box back on. I'm just going to give this a little spot clean. It's not very dirty, but it's got a little bit on there. Before I put it back on. Doesn't hurt to give it a quick wipe. Notice I got the intakes all covered up. Don't want anything dropping down inside. There we go. And I'll do the same for this. I've already wiped it down pretty good, but I like to squirt just a little bit of oil on these threads, so when I'm doing that bolt, it doesn't start to corrode. And I like to put a little bit on these boots just to make it slip on a little bit better. Don't need much. We can't forget that. You can kind of manipulate them a little bit with your finger, the little rubber boots. You don't want to start pushing till everything's lined up, because you don't want that to bend on you. There we go. There, that's down there nice and tight now. We'll do up these side bolts. I'm gonna see if I can show you this. So you put that through there, but can you see where it's going through here? That's what we got to get onto, right there. Tighten that up. So when you're tightening that up, you need to keep downward pressure on this, so because this one snugs up these two and the other side snugs up those two. Okay, move around to the other side. Downward pressure. Starting to feel it snug up there now. Don't want to go too tight. Brand new K&N filter. Nice high flow filter. I got it nice and tacky. Pretty sweet. Now when you put in this box down, you got to watch these wires here don't get pinched. They need to sit into this little groove here. Okay, I got all these screws screwed down, making sure you don't forget this center one. It's all down nice and tight. So now I'm going to hook up these hoses here, those two there, and then I'm going to start tie wrapping these down so it's a little neater and tidier. Okay, so let's start with these hoses. It's a small one. There we go. Now I got to put the clamps back on. Okay, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see this, but gonna give that a squeeze. I went up a little too far in the back, so I gotta pull it back down a bit. There we go. Like so. Good. Okay, so now I'm going to attempt to clean up some of this wiring a little bit. So I think I'm going to try to tuck that one down around there somewhere. I'm trying to leave enough room for the fuel tank to be able to come down inside here, so I'm trying to keep everything kind of tucked in like this. Alright, so we got that tucked in pretty nicely there now, so the fuel tank should be able to come down. I'm going to tidy up some of these wires, these connectors down inside a little bit deeper, so there won't be any interference. Okay, so we got the quick shifter and we got the MyTune. The MyTune goes down to the O2 sensor, the wideband O2 sensor that we installed. So this is the quick shifter here. So that is going to be plugged into this. Like so. And that little sensor there is going to go down to the gear shift. So I have a little extension on here that's going to go down to that. And here's my O2 sensor, my wideband. Put that in there, like like that. And then we got to go to ground. So I'll disconnect the negative on the battery and I'll connect that back up. Okay, so this is my little sensor that's going to go into the gear shifter. So I'm going to feed this down. That's going to connect into here. Like so. That shift sensor is going to go down in here. So there's our little sensor. Make sure there's no knots in it. So I'll tuck that back out of the way so we can't see it, and I'll feed it down. So I'm going to have to remove that shift lever, and we're going to put a new shift lever in there with this sensor on there. Just like that. Okay, I got the negative hooked up to the battery terminal for the shift assist, quick shift. How's that for a pile of wiring? Okay, so the My Tuning module is going to need a 12 volt supply after the switch is turned on. So I'm going to tap into the tail light. Tail light's right here. The tail light comes on when you turn the key, so it should give power to that. So there's your power. So I'm going to use another connector to go into the positive there, and then we'll have 12 volts. So I'm going to use another one of these posi taps. See how it's open there? Then open the other end. My power source. And thread that on like that. Just to give you a closer look here. So you see that's in there nice and tight. And it's connected to the 12-volt power supply here for the taillight. So I'm going to put another bit of tape on there like I did the other one, just to make sure it doesn't come off. But it does seem very tight. Okay, so I got everything hooked up except for the sensor for the speed shifter. So I'm going to start working on that next. Okay, so I'm just going to check the play in this so I can get a little bit of a feel for it. There's a little alignment mark right there, so I know where to put that on. I'm going to take this off. These bolts, when you take them off, you have to take them completely out because there should be a little groove going through there, which won't allow it to come off. So you loosen it off all the way, take it completely out, and that should come out. You can see the groove I was talking about right there. Now I'm just going to tie this shift lever. See how that works. Just going to tie that up out of the way. Temporarily. And now I can take this off. Like a lock nut. There it is. So the new one will thread in here, but I'm going to need to trim this down a little bit so it'll be the exact same size. Backwards thread. And a little bit of Loctite. So the sensor, I'm going to want like this. So this is going to go on here like that. Backwards threads, we're going to thread it the opposite way. So it's going to go in there like that. You want to leave a little bit of a loop, a little bit of slack here when you're tightening this cord down, because you don't want too much tension on that wire going into the sensor. You don't want it to be pulling on it every time. All right, Now we got to determine how long this needs to be. So I'm just going to temporarily put this back on. Like so. And this is my new one. Temporarily screw that in here. And I'll snip this back off, lower it down, get it into position, and I'll be able to see how much I have to cut out. Okay, I got my snips. So you can see these little lines here where I'm going to make the cut. So it looks like I'm going to have to take off at least 2. And then thread in one of these. At least 2, maybe 3. I'm going to start with 2, see how it feels. And then if I have to cut another one off, I can. The other way I can do this, take this back off. Thread the old one back in. You can see that's where it was, right there. Take the new one. Yeah, it's looking closer like, oh, hang on. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 2. Cut off 2 and we'll see how that fits. Just kind of a double check. So you can see the little lines here. 1, 2. That's where I'm gonna cut it. Okay, so I just got this chucked up in my vise, and I'm just going to use a hacksaw. Cut it off and then clean up the burr a little bit. It only took a couple of seconds. So I'll just clean that up a little bit, and there we go. Just going to take a file, give it a few strokes, and we'll clean that right up. Yeah, there it is. Cut the length. Doesn't look too bad. And put that in there. Okay, so take this little threaded piece, go in here, we'll let that one bottom out, and then put a lock nut. Thread that on. I will slip that off. Okay. Might have an issue with the sensor twisting up on me. might have to disconnect the sensor module and bring it down so I can twist this on. Not a problem. Okay, so I just disconnected it up above. I'll just drop it down. Here we go. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Put the bolt back in, tighten her down, snug up these. Looking good. Okay, so I got that right around where I want it. Put that back on, tighten this one back down. We'll run this sensor back up and connect it back up top. We'll tie that off so it's kind of hidden a little bit. Like I said, not too tight. You need to leave a little bit to let it have some play. Might even go under. Or maybe I'll go under. Be a little cleaner. Nice. I'll snug these back down. Looking pretty good. Okay, so there she is. See how that's loose? I'm going to put a tie wrap there. But you can see I put another nut in here. So I snugged it that way and that way. So that's nice and solid. Gear shift lever is right around where you had it before. So it should be good. Oh, I just have to reconnect. Reconnect that to there. Just going to lower her back down. All right, now I can connect this wire back up. There we go. Okay, so I pretty much got everything hooked up. I don't have them placed in their proper places, but I want to actually test it first before I find their permanent homes. So I'm going to put the fuel tank on and see how this fires up. Okay, so I got everything tightened up for this speed shifter. I got the toe shifter exactly where he had it before, just a little bit below the arm here. So that looks good. But if you see here, this is kind of over a bit. Before it used to be straight up and down. And the reason why is because once I put the sensor in, I cut off 2 links here, but I don't think I cut off enough because now I can, now that I got everything tightened down, I can do a more accurate measurement. I can put this piece, the old one, back in, and I put it right back to where it was, right there. And you see all that sticking out where the sensor is? So that's too much length. So I think I'm going to need to cut off another piece. So I'll trim another piece, and that'll allow me to bring this in a little bit closer. It probably doesn't really matter too much, but I want to keep it as close to the way it was before as possible. So I'm going to trim another piece out here and make it a bit shorter. That'll bring that down a bit more. I'll be able to keep the toe piece where I want it, the toe shifter. Okay, so there I just removed it. So now I'm going to, instead of trimming it on this end, I think it's all the way, is it all the way through? No, it's not. Okay, I'm going to trim it on this side here, keep it even. So I'm going to go do that now. So there's the stock arm, and this is the new one. So you can see if I was to take off one more link, it would be about the same size, which is what we want. I want it to be nice. Okay, so I got her chucked up in the lathe here. I'm just going to part it off. And going to be a little bit more fancy here, I guess, with a hacksaw. Bit of a radius on the end there, make it look a little nicer. Okay, so now I'm going to take off the little burr that's in the middle of the hole. Just going to touch it with this drill to give a little bit of a start up. There we go. That looks a lot nicer. There we go. It looks a little bit more factory now. Okay, there it is, all trimmed down. Looks a little nicer there now, eh? Nice little counterbore in there, countersink in there. Looks good. There's the stock one, and there's the new one with the sensor. A little better length. It should line up better now with this. Okay, so here we go. I got the shift lever trimmed down. So now it's just a simple task of threading this back on, like so. Get that on there. And then taking the sensor and threading that back in. I got it trimmed down to a nicer length now, I think. I'm trying to get it as perfect as I can. We'll see how this lines up. There we go. Look at that. So I got that exactly where I want it. The little dot is in the crack. The toe piece is just below that, whereas where he had it before. I got my wire running underneath, so I'll put that up out of the way. I'll snug these down a little bit, but that's going to be beautiful. Perfect. It's the way it's done. Okay, so I got these lock nuts all tightened down. I got this tightened down in the right spot. I got a little bit of wiggle room on my wire on both sides here and here. You can see some wiggle room, so when I'm shifting, it's not going to put any tension on the wire pulling on the actual sensor. I have it tied off here with the head of the zip tie in the back, so you don't see it. And then I fed the wire up through here, and then I tied off to this wire here to keep it running on the same path up, so you don't really see it sticking out, flying around. So it's nice and tucked in out of the way. That should be good. Okay, so I'm going to want to start finding some places to put these modules in that. So I got the speed shifter tucked up underneath here. Not sure if that's where I'm going to keep it or not. I'm going to take off this little panel so I can see all my spots where I can put things. Put that out of the way for a minute. I got a little space here, a little bit of space here and here. Some space, not a lot of room. Just comes off like so. Yeah, it's pretty tight. So you can see where I got the speed shifter kind of put in there for now. Not sure if that's where I'm going to keep it. It's just not a lot of room. A little bit of space here. The My Tune unit might go in there. My tuning. I'll fit that in there. Okay, so I got this wiring starting to shape up here a little bit. Got the main module here. I got the quick shifter up here. Wiring going down, tucking in out of the way on the side here. I was just gonna tie wrap it a little bit better. The my tuning module down here, and I'll tie these wires off a bit. These are my extras. I'm hoping they're going to fit down in here. We'll have to get the fuel tank and make sure that there's enough space here. And then I ran up the calibration system up here, so we'll be able to fine tune it while we're riding and stuff. So the seat just snaps in the back here like that, and it goes down here like that. So there's a little foam piece here. It's going to be too thick now because that used to press down onto the old ECU. So what I'm going to have to do is I'll probably have to trim this down a bit, because that's going to keep pressure on that now. And I'll just go in there like that. Yeah. Under the seat obviously, but that's how it's going to go. Okay, so I'm going to try to route this O2 sensor up a little bit better here now. So I could probably clip off of here with a zip tie, hold it there in place. I'm going to go in from the back here and go up past this rad hose. Feed it like that. Clip it there. Ideally I want to clip into this, so I'm thinking right in here. And we'll send that down in there, and we'll tie this off nice. We'll lower the bike a little bit and get that on there. Okay, so it looks like the new front tire has arrived. Nice. What a beautiful tire. Now these are of course directional tires, so as you can see it's going to go on like that. Always nice to get a nice brand new set of tires. Little difference in width. Okay, so I fed the other end through from the my tuning kit. I got this tied off now. So now we're going to snap this on, like so. Back down inside here. Pull that through. Getting there. Okay, so I got the O2 sensor tied off here. It goes down in behind here, goes behind this, and it's tied off right there. Nice and tidy and out of the way. So the My Tuning Kit can be located here, and it's got the O2 sensor coming from here, and it goes down. There's like a little rubber flap right here, so it goes down through there, and it gets all connected up right here, and it's tied up out of the way, but it's not touching like the oil filter or anything that can get hot. So hopefully that's going to conceal it. Shouldn't really be able to see anything. Okay, I just put the fuel tank back on. Got her bolted in here temporarily. Gonna hook up the fuel line and then the electrical for the fuel line, or for the fuel tank. And I can see these here are hitting a little bit, so I'm gonna try to push those over a bit more. I didn't want to strap those down right there because I wasn't sure if they were going to touch. They are touching, so I'm going to push them over a bit. But everything else seems to be lining up pretty good. Okay, so next I'm going to put this fuel line back on. So this can be a little tricky. So I don't know how well you're going to see it on the camera. It's nice to get a little light down there. Now this wire is going to be in your way, so take that and just get it right out of your way. And you come back to that after. Okay, so you take your fuel line. You can see how there's a flat spot here. That's where those two little hooks are going to come. They're going to go up and snap on there. These smaller ones slide up on this lower side. So start by just taking the fuel line, pull it back a little bit, straighten it out, and push it in until you feel it go clunk like that. Make sure that's out of your way. Then take this. You don't want to break these. Very carefully. Start from the back. Get one started like that, and then just push up on it and it snaps into place like that. Notice I didn't have to force it or anything, just in it goes. And then take the fuel line and pull out on it. Make sure that doesn't come off, because that had to be seated down before you start putting the clip on. See the little tabs, how they snap in? That's what you want. Now you can take this wire here and feed it back along here and connect it back up back here. Okay, so we got the laptop plugged in by USB. We're going to fire this system up for the first time and try it. So I'm not going to start the bike, I'm just going to turn the power on and we'll see what we get. A warning, shift assist must be initiated. Do you want to run setup? Put it in neutral and press OK. Move gear lever and simulate enough shift, holding pedal for about 3 seconds. Okay, so I had the bike running for a few minutes and I'm not seeing any leaks where it was leaking before. Looking real nice. So I wasn't getting any power to my calibration system up here, so I'm going to follow the lead back and see if I can trace what went wrong. Okay, I think I may have found the issue with the calibration system not firing up. So let's see if we get power to it this time. There we go. Yeah. So we got different modes here. Make sure you can see that. So it's at RPM right now. Should be able to cycle through all the different modes. So I'm going to leave it on RPM and I'm going to start it up and see what we get. Track. out there in real time. That O2 sensor is hooked up now. All right, so we're going to do a little bit more of an in-depth tune on the next video, but thank you very much for watching. Okay, so the next video is going to be a test ride when we're actually going through and trying the different systems out. But as you can see today, not a very good day for doing it. I'll be able to do the traction control. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Ottawa Valley Vintage Motorcycles. Take care.